Hello everybody and welcome back to Screen Stars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2019 Netflix horror film In the Tall Grass, a film that is co-written and directed by Vincenzo Natali, and it stars, and I hope I get these names right, Lesla de Oliveira, Avery Whitted, Patrick Wilson from the Conjuring films, Will Bew Jr. and Harrison Gilbertson, and it is based on a Stephen King novel. Now, this is a film that I wasn't particularly aware of until only a couple of weeks ago, and I saw the trailer for the first time, and I thought it looked pretty interesting. And whenever you hear that there's an adaptation, especially these days, of a Stephen King novel, and I believe he wrote this novel with his son, co-wrote it with his son, it kind of piques your interest, because we're all hoping for, a good Stephen King adaptation on screen. When they work, they're absolutely outstanding, but there's many examples of poor adaptations of Stephen King novels on the screen. And what is this one about? Well, this one is a bit of an odd one in a sense that it focuses on a character called Beckett and her brother Cal, who are travelling some distance. She's pregnant. The father's kind of abandoned her, and she's going to give up the baby to I think it's San Diego or something like that. And they pull up as she's feeling nauseous, and just before they're about to set off again, they look to this tall grass and these fields just next to them, and they can hear a child calling out for help. So, as any responsible person would do, they decide to go into this grass to try and help, as this child is lost, as it keeps screaming out, this child. Once they get in this grass, things aren't exactly what they seem. They get split up, they get lost, they can't find each other, time passes, and some strange and spooky things start happening. Then her ex-partner, the father of the baby, turns up to try and find them sometime later, and he himself gets lost in the tall grass, as well as Patrick Wilson and his wife and son. They're all in there together, and they're all trying to get out of this tall grass, but they keep getting turned around. There's like weird, strange things happening in there, some kind of weird time loop going on, and basically there doesn't seem there's ever going to be any way that they're ever going to get out of this tall grass. So that's essentially what this story is about. Now, I think that there are some decent elements to this film. I think it looks the part for certain. It's nicely polished film, and the performances are all what you would expect in a film with these kind of production values. Patrick Wilson adds a little bit of weight to the film. He's obviously quite synonymous now with horror films. He plays a little bit of a different role here. The problem with this film is it's quite slow paced, and it doesn't really explain anything. Now, I've not read the book. The book might be more detailed and in depth. They usually are, and you might get a bit more of an idea what's going on in the book. Now, in this, you just don't have any real idea, other than clearly something is going on, but you don't know if it's supernatural, you don't know if it's extraterrestrial, you genuinely don't really know. It's just there's weird stuff going on in this tall grass. People aren't behaving as they should, people even die, and then the loop takes over, they come back, and then you end up scratching your head thinking, well, if that person's dead, how can they be alive now? How come this happens? How come that? And it gives you more questions than answers, this film, which I think will probably frustrate a lot of audience members. And it's not what I would describe as scary. There are a couple of intense scenes. There's quite an intense scene, because this lady's pregnant. There's like a weird kind of birthing scene that's quite intense, that I think pregnant women would probably find quite difficult to watch, maybe. And there's a couple of other scenes and a couple of chase scenes to keep the excitement up here and there, but I personally, I didn't find it particularly scary, even though I thought the story was interesting. But I did get to the point in this film where I started getting frustrated because it wasn't necessarily making an awful lot of sense, and it didn't throw me enough breadcrumbs to have the enthusiasm to try and figure out why things were happening and why it was happening in the way it was and all that kind of stuff. And they're not particularly interesting characters, any of them really. There's some family dynamic stuff going on with the sister and the brother and the ex when he turns up. They try and put in this family dynamic thing that, you know, okay, they try and flesh it out, but it's just not overly interesting. And Patrick Wilson and his family are just the normal American type family. There's nothing interesting about many of these characters, so you end up kind of not really caring that much. So I think this is certainly a good watchable horror, but it's not what you would describe as top notch or anything like that, or overly impressive or overly scary or intense. But it's a decent watch, and it's on Netflix, so it's one of those you can put on, you know, give it a good hour and a half of your life, and you're no worse off if you give it a go, put it that way, and you might enjoy it a little bit more than me. So I've given it a 6 out of 10. It's slightly above average, I would say, this horror film, but it's not gonna I don't think it's gonna satisfy greatly Stephen King fans out there. So that's my review for In the Tall Grass. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and of course I will see you next time on Screen Stars.